and I call the honourable member for Melbourne Ports.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Labor does not agree with the government's education changes or the proposals for spending $22 billion less over the long term on education. But the thing that has surprised me about this budget is and the doubling down by ministers such as Minister Pyne and Minister Birmingham is their attack and cuts to an unexpected target, the Catholic education system. Yesterday they were briefing what I can only describe as a sectarian attack against one of my local Catholic schools, a beloved local school, St Columba's, where we always have our Anzac Day masses, and outrageously claiming that St Columba's, on the front page of The Age today, in obviously a briefing from the Education Minister, was making a windfall of $200,000. A windfall! Some bishops were going to probably consume this in some huge feast of prelates. Rubbish, nonsense, Age newspaper. Nonsense. The Catholic system knows far more about their parish schools than Education Minister Simon Birmingham or Minister Pyne. They know how people in electorates in the Catholic community choose their schools. This school might be taking St Columba's more refugees or more poor people or people on health cards who in our area, therefore the Catholic system within its budgeting have decided to support. I was speaking to the Catholic Education Office in Victoria today, and they pointed out to me that 210,000 students from 140,000 families attend one of the 500 Catholic schools in Victoria statewide, 1 in 4 Victorian children. Catholic schools pride themselves on the quality of the education they provide and refer to their values-based education. It's a distinction that many parents look for when they select a Catholic school to send their children to. There are 5 Catholic primaries in my electorate, and these cuts to their funding will affect the quality and availability of education to the residents of Melbourne Ports, despite the false claims, indeed the infamous claims on The Age that they're making windfalls from a falsely projected number that the Federal Education Minister has given without any understanding of the local circumstances that govern these schools. I know this because in the Jewish schools in the area we have exactly the same problem. A high SES rating because Caulfield, for instance, is a relatively wealthy suburb, but in a couple of the schools in my electorate, the people from the whole electorate, the poor ones, decide to go to a couple of schools because they're supported, in this case, by the Catholic education system, in the Jewish schools' case, by the community in general. A decrease in funding will result in these schools cutting programs from their curriculum and reducing class size rooms. A representative of the Catholic Education Office in Melbourne told my office just today schools will be in the local parish schools will be forced to lift fees by $5,000 a year, over $100 a week under Malcolm Turnbull and Simon Birmingham's plan. Catholic constituents in my electorate simply can't afford this increase in school fees, many of the families having several children attending. It wasn't always this way, of course. At the last federal election, the Coalition committed to an increased funding to Catholic schools by 3.5% per student each year from 2018. Now it would appear the only increases will be in the school fees forced on already struggling families. The Catholic Education in Melbourne explained to us today calculations indicate a funding cut of about $25 million in real terms for Catholic schools in Victoria in the first year, increased by $25 million each year after that, $25 million in 2021, $50 million in 2022, then $75 million in 2023 and so on. These cuts to Catholic schools, as I said, will impact the education of children as it will force schools to find savings to cover the Turnbull funding cuts. There's a wonderful principal at St Aloysius School, Therese Stewart in my electorate, who says my school needs to know what the government is going to do. She urges the minister to meet with leaders of Catholic education
I call the member for
No,
Fairfax.